All right, picture this. You're sitting in a cafe, sipping on your overpriced latte, minding your own business when this guy walks in. He's got the look. Not overly flashy, not trying too hard, but there's something about him that makes you pause. People notice him, but he's not making a scene. He's the guy who blends into the background, yet somehow he owns the room. Turns out he's a spy. Well, technically he used to be one, retired now, but you can still see it in how he moves, how he carries himself anyway. I don't know what possessed me, but I asked him a question that's probably way outside his usual repertoire. What's the secret to seducing women? And what he said blew my mind. He leans in, gives me this half smile and says, "You're asking the wrong question." I'm like, okay, great, start. He explains, "You don't seduce women. You create an environment where they feel safe enough, intrigued enough to seduce themselves." That was the first jam. And trust me, it didn't make sense to me at first either. So I pushed him for more, and he broke it down in this way that was almost annoyingly simple. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how right he was. The power of presence. The first thing he said was, this, be present. Most men aren't even in the same moment as the person they're talking to. He said, they're too busy thinking about their next move, their insecurities, their goals. You can feel that from a mile away. It hit me. You know when you're in a conversation, but the person isn't really there. They're nodding, smiling, saying the right words, but you can tell their mind is somewhere else. Women pick up on that, instantly. He told me to focus on listening, not just hearing. Listening is more than just waiting for your turn to talk. It's about absorbing what she's saying and responding with curiosity, not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're genuinely interested. Stop thinking about what you want from her. He said, think about how you can add to the moment she's already in confidence, is about comfort the spy. Then dropped another line that stuck with me. Confidence isn't about being the loudest guy in the room or cracking jokes. Non-stop, it's about being comfortable in silence. This one hit me hard. We've all been there on a date at a party when there's this awkward silence and suddenly you're panicking, throwing out random comments just to fill the void. But he explained that real confidence is being okay with those gaps. He told me a story about being undercover, having to sit across from people he couldn't trust, where every word had weight. Silence was his weapon. It made people uncomfortable, but for him it wasn't awkward. It was powerful with women. It's the same thing. If you're calm and unbothered by a pause, it shows you're not desperate to prove yourself. You're giving her the space to come into the interaction, instead of overwhelming her with your energy, curiosity over charm. This was probably my favorite part of the conversation. He said, you don't have to be charming. You just have to be curious. Think about it. We're all so wrapped up and wanted to be like that. We forget to actually connect instead of trying to be this charismatic, larger-than-life personality. Focus on learning about her world, what makes her tick, what lights her up. It's not about interrogating her or ticking off some mental checklist of questions either. It's about actually wanting to know, and when you approach it that way, it doesn't feel forced. It flows. But, and this is a big one, you have to balance this curiosity with your own boundaries. You're not just there to cater to her, you're there to share who you are too. The moment you start overdoing it, trying to win her, she'll sense it. Be unpredictable, not flashy. Now here's where the spy side of him really kicked in. He told me that predictability is the fastest way to lose someone's interest. He wasn't talking about playing games or being manipulative, far from it. What he meant was to avoid being just like every other guy. Most men walk into a conversation with the same lines, the same moves, the same energy. He said, don't be that guy, surprise her. But it wasn't about grand gestures or showing off. He explained that unpredictability comes from being genuinely yourself, because nobody else can be you. The unseen advantage, be unattached. Finally, the thing he emphasized the most was, Detachment attachment is the death of seduction. He said when you approach someone with the energy of, I need this to work, it immediately puts the other person on edge. Instead, approach as if you're already enough, like you're just seeing where this could go, not clinging to an outcome. This was huge for me. It's easy to get caught up in wanting her number, her validation or her attention, but when you let go of those needs, something amazing happens. You stop chasing, and people naturally come closer to you. The crazy part at this point, I had to ask him, okay, but what's the craziest thing you've done to connect with someone? He laughed, then said something that completely threw me off. Sometimes the most powerful move is to walk away. He told me about a time he was on a mission where building trust was critical. He made his presence known, showed interest, but then left before anyone could get too comfortable with him. I planted the seed of curiosity, and it grew on its own in dating. It's not about walking away in a manipulative way. It's about knowing when to leave an interaction. On a high note, when you end things with her wanting more, she'll remember you, and she'll want to see you again. The takeaway by the end of our chat, I realized that seduction isn't about tricks or lines, or even looks. It's about energy. It's about how you make someone feel in your presence, safe, intrigued and excited. The spy advice wasn't groundbreaking in the sense of being some secret formula. It was simple, human, and so obvious that we often overlook it. So next time you're out there, try to connect with someone. Remember, be present, be curious, and, for the love of all things, stop trying so hard. Seduction isn't about forcing it. It's about creating a space where it happens naturally. Crazy, right?